Well, it's like,
Yeah, sorry.
that's right. Yep, we don't have a forum tonight, but we do want to hear what you have to say. And I don't know if you want to go first, or me? Yeah.
Well, I'm happy, maybe I can do a bit of a town council update.
Yeah.
Just focus into the conversation, but not on the spot or anything. And yeah, no.
I think we just thought that for people who've shown up.
Yeah.
For people who have come tonight, if there's something on your mind, we'd be interested to hear about it. Even though we don't have a forum.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna do a brief update on some ongoing town business. The local comprehensive plan, of which Jen Williams here is a member, is looking for new folks. I think 3 seats.
At least 3.
At least 3.
At least 3.
Yeah, and so this is sort of like what sets the compass for our long-term land use policy. Something that we try to do every 10 years or so, have about 17 folks appointed to it by the town manager. We've had a couple of folks after a year's worth of working on it, they've gone off the board. And so we're just looking to reboot it. We're looking for young people. We're looking for everybody, but just people that represent different voices potentially throughout the town. So that can all be found, the application on the town website. We do have a playground advisory group to announce. That's sort of a little bit of news, just so folks do on this particular.
Is that related to the park?
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I want to talk about.
Awesome, perfect. Well, we can get into it. The idea generally is a lot of work was done by this particular group at the front here over the last couple of years, 2015, and a couple of years afterwards. And they set us up for success, but then the program got a little bit slowed down with some other things, and we're rebooting it. So we're gonna build up the work that's already been done, but I just want to read off the folks from around here that will be on it. Jim O'Leary is representing the Recreation Committee. Liz Manning as an abutter, Diane Richardson from our group here representing the OBA, Jen Williams representing the OBPA, Megan Cote sort of representing parents, along with Fabia Myrick representing parents. And then on the town side of things, Chris Ganella, who's our Director of Community Services, and his deputy, John Gleason. And then Mark Marinaccio, who is our town architect, and myself. And then the outside consultant named Judy Real, or Real, I'm not really certain. So that makes up the playground advisory group, and we're technically in what we're calling phase 2 of developing the recreational space out here. And the big elements of that will be dropping the building that has been around and a little bit of an eyesore for decades. And that's gonna then, we're also gonna level the entire left field so that the entire softball field, which cost $800,000, is more of a uniform service. And but the big focus will actually be on the actual playground, the elements that will be carried over from the work that was done before into the future. We have appropriated $1.3 million for this project, so it is going to be a nice playground. And so this is the group that I feel like it's going to be run by Chris Ganella and outside consultant, but those are the members sort of representing this immediate community. And we can circle back to that, sir, if we want to talk some more about what's going on at the rec area. I think folks know that a public advisory still remains on Parker Pond. So, I think there's only 4 or 5 butters. And the Weana Club is one of them, not safe for pets and not safe for humans. So project that we're really trying to change. It's the only place really right here in the village that suffers from these cyanobacteria blooms. There are 3 aerators now in Parker Pond, and that's keeping the water moving, but that's not enough because we haven't. This public health advisory started, I think, in the 1st or 2nd week of July, so we've been there for a while. Want to mention a really great upcoming event this weekend. The Barnstable Land Trust is reading through Thoreau's Cape Cod, from beginning to end, over 2 days at the Fuller Farm, which is, I forget which road exactly it is, up above, just below the grass airfield in Barnstable. 2 straight days, all day Saturday, all day Sunday at the Fuller Farm, sponsored by BLT. I'm reading a chapter about sharks, which I'm looking forward to. There has been a successful petition in the town as a whole to have an open meeting sometime after October 20th has been thrown out there for a discussion about the town's overall stance and posture towards offshore wind operators. I think folks might have heard the news today. I think Bill was great to send it around, and I think Chuck, maybe you commented on it, or I know some folks have been commenting on it. Effectively, the Park City Wind project, which was targeting a landing at Craigville Beach, has gone the same route as the project here, the Commonwealth Wind one, which is that they've effectively had to cancel their power purchasing agreements. And so a $48 million fine was paid by that group to get out of the Commonwealth Wind PPAs. And now a $17 million or so fine will be paid again to get out of agreements that, you know, really have only been around for a year and won't go fulfill. Most likely there will be then new rounds of bidding on these projects in next calendar year. So the town council is, you know, been on the receiving end of like consecutive amounts of negative financial news on the large scale about these different companies, and is, I think, astutely taking the sort of a posture of like wanting to express to the entire town where our town policy stands in regards to how we're going to move ahead with these two groups, or primarily Avgrid. And so we're gonna have a couple of resolves on Thursday night. One of those is for you know, to actually withdraw the authorization for the town manager to participate in any host community agreements. What we did last time was just a pause it, just to say, we're stopping the host community agreement, but we didn't revoke his authority to talk with these companies. Now we're gonna revoke them if we vote for it, which I will vote for it on Thursday night, and I'll vote for a resolve about granting any more easements for any Park City Wind related like project scoping that they do when they sort of, you know, do some borings on different streets and take measurements and stuff. We're gonna put all that on hold because the cumulative amount of negative news from this particular industry is relatively clear throughput. And so I feel like that means the town, we have to re-express all the villagers and all the villages where we stand on that stuff. Last day to register to vote is midnight on October 27th. So if you can get online at with our town clerk, whose name is Ann Quirk, by the night of the 27th, by midnight, you can register to vote. It feels like everybody here seems like the type that might be registered to vote. That is it.
Question.
Yeah.
You're still for the landing of the cables, correct? Yes or no?
Yeah, I think I can express myself, Peter, if that's all right, like,
Sure.
Yeah, so my intention from the very beginning of the appeal of this was that an offshore wind operator could help us pay for the very expensive sewering that we have to have come in.
So you're for it?
So I still like the idea of a potential future partnership with an offshore wind company. I'm not saying that they're right now,
But those are
effectively,
critical fees, right?
you know, both those projects are effectively presently dead. They are dead. So like, I think the idea is that they get rebid in January, and then we won't know until next summer. My intent from the beginning really has been trying to make sure that the average household doesn't share an extraordinary burden of having to rebuild our wastewater infrastructure. And so one idea along that line was to effectively have an offshore wind company pay for a big portion of it. So that's
the big portion, of like one half.
We can quibble about
It's so misleading, that's all.
Okay, Peter, I think we can, yeah, anything that doesn't reduce the cost then actually makes it more expensive. So, you know.
We can argue that, but yeah.
Yeah, as we can, yeah.
Can I just add, and the
Sure.
local
Yes, ma'am.
businesses are gonna pay the cost.
That's right.
We've talked a little bit about the business
Yeah,
mitigation
and-
concept of, you know, that could make people whole at the end of it.
It won't.
It won't.
They
Okay.
won't, they
Well,
won't do it.
The sewer is
Obviously,
coming no matter what, folks, right?
Okay,
So
we need sewer, that's one thing. But the
that
business-
level of like.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
The businesses don't have to lose a vital amount of their business by having wind farm come through. You know, the sewer will go much more quickly through the main street if it has to go through that way. And if it's going by itself, than if it's combined with the wind farm and the sewer.
That's incorrect, yeah, that's incorrect.
No, it isn't.
It's not.
It takes
Yeah.
twice as long.
Oh,
Both
construction maybe,
units,
but we
yes.
can get it much sooner. That was the appeal of it, was that we could get the
If
sewer
we need,
sooner,
if we
like
need
closer to
sewer,
2025.
if we need the sewer that badly, they
We
should be doing it now. They should be doing it now.
Yeah.
Not-
And that's what's coming out 28-hour direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And if we need it, they should be doing it now. They shouldn't be waiting.
Well, it needs to be
For the
attached to
wind
something. We can't just do it here in our village and have it not
Well, it's
attached
not
to what's
needed as
going.
badly in our area. as
Oh,
it
yes,
is
it
in
is.
other areas.
We are the most nitrogen sensitive area almost within the
Well, then
Commonwealth
they
of
should stop
Massachusetts.
allowing these big mammoth houses being built right on the waterfront. That,
Hey, we might be in agreement on something, Ken.
yeah, well, they've already built,
But I don't really want to get involved in what people do with their money around here, with their private property.
but they.
Oh, yeah.
So you may not know any more about this than I do, but on that point about the rebidding next year, you're talking about them.
Yeah, I think I read January 31st.
Just where is it? Are these the same groups that would come back? Avangrid and Commonwealth Wind and whoever else is gonna come back and rebid, and what is it that they're rebidding?
So the feds are the ones who, feds, right, all of these actual wind farms are resting on land that's federal waters. So the feds are the ones who make this portion of our, United States shared federal waters available to companies. And then they sort of then devolve authority down to the states, the Commonwealth, to then run bidding processes to actually then claim that chunk to actually develop their wind project. And so effectively, the second and third round have gone kaput. The first round, we all know, it is Vineyard Wind, and Vineyard Wind, within the next 10 or 15 days, will have electrons running under the street into the grid. We're gonna, and the town has been cashing checks from that first project already. But the second and third project effectively are now, they're not viable, and so those companies will be allowed to rebid on their projects. That also, though, most likely there will be other companies who could potentially bid as well. The two ones that sat out but showed a little bit of interest last time were Orsted and Equinor. They both said Massachusetts is got a price cap and we don't want to bid in price cap states. So they put their focus on New York, New Jersey, and the Carolinas. And now Massachusetts has removed that price cap. So I think they're trying to entice the Equinors and Orsted's to work. We've not heard anything from an American company in this conversation. It comes up quite frequently. I don't really know why. The Europeans have a lot of track record in this space, upwards of 50 years worth of landing offshore wind in their communities. And, it's been a bulwark in making sure that Putin doesn't take too much of advantage in Europe by effectively getting to sell natural gas to a bunch of European NATO states. So, yes, companies that have been, so we could be right back at square one, talking with Avangrid, talking about them landing in Dowses, but we could also be talking with a totally different company.
What is it that they're bidding on? I guess is what I'm trying to understand. I don't understand what are they bidding on?
Yeah, I don't want to
If you
get
know,
too,
you may not know that,
right?
yeah.
So this is,
Basically, they like to do the project. Yeah, it's like a.
and they're gonna sell at a certain price point
Yeah.
to the utilities.
Okay,
And then the utilities are the ones who actually get it to our homes and into our TVs or whatever. And so that is and so there is a dollar amount, like that was at 7.2 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's what approximately is what Vineyard Wind will be getting. So we will be effectively, because it's going into a substation within our community, we will be consuming electricity in this calendar month that is coming in at 7 cents per kilowatt hour, which is about a third of what natural gas costs. So it is a missed opportunity in not having the other two projects.
so I take it that whatever price they bid at for this current, section, if you will, for 2023, that price proved to be too low, because what I read in that announcement was inflation, cost of construction, et cetera. So one has to assume that whatever price they're gonna bid at, again, is gonna be much higher or higher. So then it's up to somebody to decide whether or not they're gonna take that bid.
Yeah, and so the projections are in the 10, 11, 12 cents per kilowatt hour. And again, natural gas is somewhere between 21 and 23 mostly at this time of year.
Yeah,
And so that would be still, you know, potentially 50% less.
yeah,
But at 7.2 cents per kilowatt hour, they all had to pull up stakes after Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Obviously, you know, the Fed said 5%, it could be at 7% this time next year. The whole thing, you know, is being buffeted, no pun intended, by some strong headwinds. But they're macroeconomic and not necessarily the doing of our community or the town itself.
where do they get the money? I mean, obviously they have investors, but they've got to throw around $48 million.
And then
Oh,
another
oh, heck,
16 million
pay the 48 million.
cost of doing
We'll
business.
move on. I mean, who has that kind of money?
A lot of folks online like to posit different foreign sovereign funds,
Yeah.
being who underwrite, but I mean, we've been buying oil from Saudi Arabia for things.
Most of it's coming from Europe.
Yeah, Northern Europe. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Copenhagen
and
investment partners.
as you observed, they're doing a great job over there. Now, that's why they have to buy gas from the Russians, because they can't produce enough power for themselves.
No, they don't have to. It's the opposite.
The Germans sure as heck have. They've got windmills all over the place.
Yeah, right, yeah. And that is, they're the sort of manufacturing beating heart of the
Yeah.
EU's economy. And if they did not have access to renewable energies, then all of NATO would really be over
Yeah,
there.
and they're buying nuclear power from the French, but they won't have nuclear power in their own country. So that's our future. No natural gas, no gasoline, but plenty of windmills.
Which is really all.
Paul, could you,
Yeah,
can you detail a little bit more, Adam, where they actually are? And we, it's so easy to say, well, we got electrons flowing, but, you know, I've heard it was gonna be spring, and then I heard it was gonna be October, and then I've heard that they only maybe have one turbine out.
Yeah.
You got any better background?
yeah, I think what I last heard was that by October 15th, they would be at 10% of their overall construction complete, which would be around 8 or 10 standing, you know, the actual windmills out there 15 miles south of Martha's Vineyard. I think only one, you're right, 1 or 2 are presently up, and they will be functioning though, and then the electrons will be flowing, and so it's sometime
That's
in
one,
the middle of
how
October.
many do they have?
And then I think it's 80 for their project
Yeah, that's-
total, and so.
There seems to be a lot of BS going around there too, you know, they're trying to pay attention to it.
Yes, sir.
And, matter of fact, I didn't even know they had one working, but I think they do. But now, if they got an 80, and they got one, and you said 10%. Well, I don't think 9 are gonna go up in 14 days.
They go up ridiculously fast. They come out there on enormous ships in only 6 pieces, even though they're the size of 2 or 3 football fields. The ships are that big too, and they just sort of like put up one bit, and then another bit, and then the cap, and then the 3 arms. It's like surprisingly like, it's pretty much prefab. And then when they get out to the ocean, they just take 6 pieces and put it together. So you'd be surprised at how fast it can
I'm
go.
very impressed that they've got everything in the ground. And they're hooked up all the way up
Yeah.
to the substation.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And the other thing, when they even triple checked, 3 days ago, because I was going that direction, the roads are in excellent shape, that they.
I see you mentioned, Bill.
Yeah, so,
They do, excuse me, they do want to put one of the substations over a wellhead protection area. Has that been addressed by the town?
That's been discussed at length, and town manager Els is all of his reports, and every time he reviews, he talks about the sensitivity of our water resources.
I think that's crazy to put a substation over a well protection area. What's your opinion of that?
You know, I thought this evening was, I mean, I'm happy, Peter, to have a conversation about stuff. It feels like you've got an agenda there, questions that you'd like to pin me down on. I feel like,
I just want to keep it
Yeah.
open, you know?
oh, okay.
Not a personal attack, it just bothers me where we always talk about the water issues. I'm a water commissioner, and like, the fact that you're even thinking about putting a substation on a well protection, protection area, blows me away. You're an environmentalist, obviously, that doesn't, I mean, this should be, people should be outraged on that. So where's the outrage? Why is everyone okay with having,
well,
doing it?
unfortunately, Peter, I tried to pay pretty good attention, I missed that.
Yeah.
You know, and, I don't read the newspapers, but, that's why you probably haven't heard I try to say it. I was shocked today when I went in, I was looking for the map that I sent, I guess it sent to the president of the beach club. And I went to the computer to see if I could find in the old data, the map of, store, the first phase of the town of Osterville. And I was very interested in seeing the, route of the Craigville Beach one because of the beach club. And I had an interest there as well as here. And lo and behold, I put it in there and it was all over the place. And I put that thing together and I said, oh, because I gotta be careful, make sure that, because it said 5 hours ago, but in this day and age, you don't know it's 5 hours ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever. So that popped up. So one thing that from my perspective, is that, the year is gonna come and the year is gonna go, and it's gonna be flash. And we'll be back, basically, I think this is, and again, these things, I like that, we try to be very careful, not be wrong. But I believe that it'll be very, very similar to it is now. It's just, 12 months will go by, and all the battles will be exactly the same. And, but one thing that I had some very interesting input, today, there's a gal that owns the place, across the street, where, just up from what these, where the 30 units are. And, I had lunch with her and, the other people, all the people at the beach club. And she worked for the large agency that is the federal agency, which is the mother of this group. And, she actually worked on the petroleum side. And they had the petroleum side, and then they had the wind side. And it was very fascinating to hear her, the woman that is evidently unbelievable national East Coast momentum in this field. And it's hard for us to feel what's going on in Washington, but I got a very big feeling about it. And they are so busy and there is so much momentum for this all up and down the coast that it was a real, there's a lot of tremendous movement in this movement overall. And one thing that she did say, which again, I almost hesitate to say it, but this woman is, funny even have a doctorate, and she's very excellent technically. And she said one of the things that Europe is so far ahead of us, and we have trouble in our regulations, keeping them loose enough that we can stay up with the developments that they're doing in Europe. And one thing she said, which hopefully won't go back to Verna, she says, one thing that Europe is way ahead of us is in the cables coming on into the ocean and in the ocean. Is about the design that we're accepting is very antiquated, old. They might have to be replaced. So, and that's the first like crack in the egg I've ever heard. So, that's fascinating.
Thanks, Bill. And I'm sorry, we didn't mean to distract. It's a hot issue right now in town, as you know, but.
Oh, I know what it is.
Let's introduce you
I'm
to
in a group with Bill, so I know. But can we talk about Osterville now?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
Your name, I'm sorry.
Okay, Paul mentioned the.
Jerry Blakely.
Okay, yeah, my name is Jerry Blakely, sorry. But, Paul mentioned this, play yard group team. That's fine, but I was shocked when you said how many people are involved in a little playground. It seems crazy, a little overkill. They're all volunteers, I assume. They're not getting any compensation or are.
Oh, no, half the people I listed were are people who work in our recreation and community services department and architects.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I think there's only 5 or 6.
right,
of
and you said
citizens.
$2.8 million?
No, 1.3.
1.2, okay.
Yeah.
I went down to we walk our dog over there. I was down there, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And they were ripping that place apart where I guess they want to put a playground. So my question is, did the town ever review plans for that and was it approved? And who approved it?
Yeah, I mean,
Was it town council? Was it OVA? I don't know. I was really upset by it.
by which part, sir? I don't know.
Well, I've been down here since 1966. And we used to love going over to the park, walking our dogs. And one of the things I always loved was going up the wooden steps.
You're talking about Park, yeah, the trustees of the reservation took that over.
Oh, that's not municipal property.
You guys had nothing to do with.
No, that's not municipal property.
I used to donate to our trustees. I've stopped.
And
So
I
that,
used to donate to the trustees, but I've stopped. I'm so upset with what they've done
Yeah,
to
but
the
they have,
park here.
it's over there, they have complete control on that now for the last, 3 years? I've
Yes,
seen that.
correct.
But I thought you just said that
no, that,
you all approved. the-
No, that's a different, that's the playground behind the school.
Yeah, your point.
Oh, it's that one. It's not. the
Different
one-
property altogether.
Okay, so what can be done about what they're doing over at the park?
Armstrong Kelly Park.
absolutely.
Armstrong Kelly, is there anything
I don't even
that
do
can
anything.
be done, or is it too late?
I don't think you do a thing.
The trustees control all of that now.
And who can I contact as trustees?
Trustees of reservations, whoever it is that has, I thought it was the Audubon Society.
Yeah, it's the trustees. Yeah, I can get a contact information.
Yeah, I'd like to get out
Sir.
there.
Yeah,
It's just,
They're off Cape, but.
did you all ever used to go to the
Yeah.
park?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And you notice how we had the nice little wooden steps, and then there was that nice wooden area that goes up to where they have a train that somebody donated.
Williams, Williams train.
And then they have poetry along the way,
Yes,
that's all gone.
yes.
the train is still in there, yeah.
So what they've done is they've taken some of those stakes with the poetry and they've put it up through the woods. So at least it's there, if like some of my favorite poems were there. But I don't know, turning that area into a park, are there really that many children? Well, this isn't an issue for you guys, but
Just a quick comment, one of the things with Armstrong Kelly Park is they were struggling financially. They had a lot of volunteers there. The way it was set up, they really couldn't do weddings, they couldn't do any events there because the parking was bad. So they came up with a master plan, I'm not sure who the architect was, to address the parking, like this, you have this acreage, say it's 7 acres, how can we develop this so that it will generate income and it'll be, you can hold more events there, that was my take on it.
But if they're planning on generating income, there has to be somebody in the local community that's driving it.
Yeah.
The trustees or somewhere in
Yeah.
New England.
I fear not, Joe, I fear not. I just think that they're a big organization. I know almost nothing about it, because it's national. And, they just kind of buzzed into town and they bought it.
They bought it.
Yeah. A nonprofit had it and then a new nonprofit. But the trustees is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts only thing, but they have an enormous amount of holdings across the state as a
Oh,
whole.
I know that.
Yeah.
To go back to the other playground, that's being designed, it amazes me, that we've actually got 1.3 million.
Yeah,
Which it should be, and, the ladies, really, Diane Richardson and Jennifer, really pushed to make sure that we're gonna have control on it, and they do listen, don't they, Jennifer?
Oh, they do. A number of the folks who are on the new committee were on the previous committee. And I think it's really having the local impact of the folks on that committee brings in, what we're looking for, and also kind of a nautical element to it. So it's not just a cookie cutter playground, that it does have sort of a nod to history of it, with some perhaps sail-like features. And some playgrounds that you see are, bright primary colors of reds and yellows and blues, and this might be more of a blue and gray kind of motif. That was from our last meeting. So you were on the committee as well, and many of the town folks are continuing, and so looking forward to that. Resurgence and the expense really is not just the equipment itself, but the surface material that is hugely expensive to protect any potential.
That's a question on the sewage thing. We talked about it in your group, but Z Crocker gave a talk, I think it was in here, or maybe it was at Rihanna Club, about these new, I'm sorry, I have a problem with words.
Innovative alternative septic systems.
Yeah, septic systems, where we're gonna have to take out our septic systems and install his state-of-the-art septic. How does that relate to this whole thing with, if we have I'm right on East Bay Road. And, I mean, we have a big septic system, but how does that relate if they are gonna put sewage lines in?
It does,
Still gonna
it
have
does. You're gonna have to connect to the sewer, whether you like it or not. You're gonna have to connect to the sewer. So you're gonna be spending 20,000 or 25 on this new upgraded system. And, 5 years from now, if the town comes through with a sewer line, you're gonna have X number of months to connect to it. Simple as that. And so that investment in your property to upgrade to the current, whatever the current Title V standard is gonna be, is gonna be, nothing you can't recoup, and you're not gonna be able to make use of it. The only thing you can do is maybe design it in such a way so that your connection is a little easier and maybe less expensive, but that's about all you can do.
When do we have to do it by?
I don't know. I don't even know if any of these regulations have actually been implemented at this point.
And paying attention, Paul, throw all of you, paying attention to these things, it definitely has been implied that the state is laying back, Paul, I hope he is close to it, we're not pushing that as long as sewer is on.
Right.
Is that true?
Right, so our big focus as a town is the sewer here, and so
Yeah.
the sewer is coming out 28 westbound towards Mashpee, because that's where the density for our town is, really, Centerville, Osterville, out towards the Mashpee line. And so it will continue heading westbound, and then it'll go north and south up into all the neighborhoods. If we do it well and we do it right, at this point in time, it is a 30-year plan, $1.5 billion in 3 10-year segments. And we are effectively in year 3.5. We're right in the very beginning of this project.
And the streets are the same as the Avangrid, the power would go up, right?
Yeah, that was part of, at one point in time, the appeal of
Right.
having those two merge, but the whole wind portion of the conversation now is mostly just a big question mark. And
So
so,
the sewage is going ahead.
but the sewer is going ahead because we've effectively been sued into this position for not upholding the Clean Water Act of 1972. And so we have to effectively get down our nitrogen and phosphorus levels to
Well, wasn't
numbers.
Avangrid gonna pay for the sewage?
They were gonna pay for a portion of it, but no, they weren't gonna
What they
pay
were
for
gonna
it.
do was open the ground,
Yeah,
and they were gonna pay for the repaving, the resealing of the ground.
well, originally, they were
So
gonna
the
open the
Town
ground, both
wouldn't pay for that.
their line and the sewage was gonna be in the same home. Then they changed it to where one's gonna be on one side of the street and the sewage on the other.
We'll see how it all works out.
Yeah,
That
Again,
is a myth, though, that Avangrid is paying for our sewer, and they're not.
That's right on.
They are paying to repave the surface. That's all they're doing.
That's right.
so, that's a
Yeah.
proposed project that pretty much is not sort of moving forward at this point in time.
Okay.
But we do have an example of it being done relatively successfully with the Vineyard Wind landing at Covell's Beach. And the town realized a yet to be determined number, but definitely in the 7 figures in savings by partnering.
Okay.
Have they received any money yet?
Yeah, I don't know how many total checks have been cashed, but multiples,
Oh, how much?
Yeah.
How much money?
hundreds of thousands of dollars at least so far, but I don't have the exact number yet.
Could you find that out?
Sure.
Yeah, because
I mean, they're gonna be paying for 20, I think all the agreements for 20 or 30 years, so they're gonna be paying for decades.
but it would be nice to, because people ask, how much
Okay,
has
sure.
the town
Well,
actually
the
received?
first agreement was something like 17 million over 20 years.
Yeah, but now that they're claiming they don't have money, what happens?
Well, that was for the first.
That's the one that's actually happening, yeah, Vineyard Wind.
Yeah, well,
So it's
they
less
can
than $1
also
million.
pull out of it if they claim they don't have any more money.
That's correct.
That's our problem. They're an LLC and they can pull out of it at any time.
there's multiple threats to any big infrastructure project, and
So,
assessing the risk and reward is our job, and still
so
feels like
that's,
there's
that's
a
an
reward.
informal meeting, perhaps we could find out what everyone else.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure, yeah, I don't know, I do know Jason, or Eileen, or Susan, if anybody else has.
Okay,
I think, I just want to add one more thing about Armstrong County Park. There's a gentleman named Clint Flagg, who's the hands-on local, person who does the, horticulture and landscape design at Armstrong County.
You work in the library?
No, we met at the museum, maybe a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
The little post office. I know the actual.
The museum, but
Yes, yes,
post office right next door. But come on by the museum and we can talk Armstrong County Park. The oldest privately held, Cape Cod Horticultural Society, location, and thanks to the trustees, they infused over $2 million to save the property, which was really on the edge of, not a lot of volunteers, or the volunteers that they did have were aging out.
Yeah.
And so it really was an effort to save the beautiful space, and, I know it's a work in progress. But Clint is a local, person, and, might be somebody to talk to.
Like, talk to you after.
Sure.
Alright, very good, yeah.
Well, wait, before you all get up and run away, because this is the first time I've been here with me, can we just start? I know Bill very well. Can we just go around the room? Just tell me like who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Bruce Cole. I've lived here a
Oh,
little while.
I'm sorry.
Bruce
I
Cole.
forgot to bring my hearing aids.
That's okay.
So,
My name is Bruce Cole. I've been on the OOBA board for what, about 8 or 9 years now, something like that. Born and raised here in Osterville,
mhm.
6 decades. And, I'm in the wine business. I've been in the wine business for almost 40 years.
Okay. And I know Paul, you're on the council,
Town councilor, yeah.
and you're running for reelection.
Yes,
sir. So I had to put it in that.
Jennifer Williams, Osterville Historical Museum, we run the Osterville Farmers Market. Every Friday, last farmers market is coming up
Oh,
this
yeah.
Friday from 9 to 1. OVA board member, and I serve on the OBPA, the Osterville Business and Professional Association, steering committee, led by Gail, and a local comprehensive planning committee, as well, and a few other authority committees, now resurrecting the playground committee.
For this evening.
I'm Gail Nightingale, and I'm chairman of the Osterville Business and Professional Association. I also own a business in Osterville near the Osterville package store, as long as the Daniel Block building. And so I'm been on both boards for many years.
Peter Hansen, I'm a board member. I grew up in Osterville. Family had a business here for many years. I've got my own landscape design and construction business. They were adamantly against the wind project there back 15 years ago. They're gonna put wind, Vineyard Sound, they're gonna put windmills in there, and thank God they struck that down. And I'm carrying on my mission, my goal is to stop any cables from coming into thousands or going down Main Street. And I'll fight this until I can't fight it. Thank you.
They're gonna come right through our yard almost, so.
No, they're not.
No, okay.
I'm Chuck Sabat.
Okay. That's it?
Well, I like to
Okay,
say,
Chuck, nice to meet you.
well, I met some people this summer. Every time I went down to this little, at the library, right next to the restaurant there. I was going down with my daughter-in-law and a little grandson on Sunday. And we get breakfast and stuff. And we always met a new young couple. And they always say, what do you, they just bought a house somewhere in Oswald. I say, what are you doing? So I'm in private equity. And we come there the next Sunday, say, what is it that you do? I'm in private equity. So I decided that that's what I'm gonna do. I'm in private equity. I have a little equity in my house and it's private. That's what I-
Good answer.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. The 3 weekends in a row, met different couples, everybody's in private equity. So, now I have a little law practice in Hyannis. I grew up in Hyannis. And I'm proud to say I went to Barnstable High School.
I think we all did.
Bruce, I guess we all did. So, anyway.
Well, I'm very impressed with the energy that you have.
This is only half of us, we're only at half strike.
We're all volunteers.
One thing I love
Just
is
correct something when I introduced myself. I said I've been down here since '66. I was living in another part of Osterville. We moved down to, now our place is on Main Street, East Bay Road. And we've only been there, I think, since 2018, more than 5 years, so. And as Bill knows, where I was living before in Osterville, I had not a clue what was going on in the village of Osterville. We were very,
he's on some particular island, you can probably.
very secluded. So I decided this past winter, or last year even, that I really want to get involved in what's going on. So I'm there for a volunteer. I had a company, I told it after 37 years, to a public company, and I just love this village, so I want to get involved.
I gotta check out,
Good to hear.
Thank you.
I gotta check out Jerry, you know, we have this small discussion group down the street. And he's so excited about this, and I had a lot to him being here because I really promo OVA, what we do so much in the group. And, I got another chap that's also, we're gonna be here tonight, and, but he was disappointed on the business of the agenda, so he didn't come, so next.
Well, we made something out of the evening.
Yeah, we sure did.
So it's the first Tuesday.
Considering we didn't have it.
It's always-
Yeah.